Alright, so the most recent JRE fight companion from this past Saturday has been receiving a lot of criticism from UFC fans online for being super biased, disrespectful, and at points kinda racist towards Dricus Du Plessis. On this fight companion, Joe definitely had his moments where he showed his favoritism towards Izzy, but honestly, Brendan Schaub, Tony Hinchcliffe, and especially Brian Simpson were where things really crossed the line between simply wanting Izzy to win versus just outright being weird about hating on DDP. And before I start breaking down the sequence of events from Saturday's podcast, I just want to say that although I predicted Dricus to beat Israel heading into the main event, I really didn't care who came out the winner as long as it was a good fight, which is exactly what we got. Anyways, let's talk about the fight companion. Things started popping off before the fight even began, with Brian and Tony saying that they never want to see DDP win any of his fights.
I think I asked him about it one time and he was like a little taken
I never want to see this guy win. I don't know why.
Dricus?
I'm telling you, I feel the same way. He's so heelish. He's a natural.
I just want to root against him.
Tony also claims that Dricus casually says the N-word because he's from South Africa, and according to Tony, you can say that if you're South African, which I've never heard of this, and it sounds weird to me, so you guys let me know if this is at all accurate.
Bitch. He's awkward as fuck.
And he says the N-word, right?
Yeah.
No, does he?
Yeah, he does a lot.
When did he say
He's from
that?
South Africa, and you can say it if you're
I was
South
joking.
Wait a
African.
minute.
Does he?
Are you sure?
Doesn't he?
No.
I don't think so.
You think-
To Brendan's credit, however, he actually shuts this down and indicates that it was Izzy who said the N-word to DDP. Honestly, the commentary in the first round wasn't too bad. In fact, I would say it's all pretty fair and balanced opinions, except for Tony, who says he's rooting for Izzy because he watches his show Kill Tony every week, which, hey, I get it.
I just Googled it. It's because Adesanya called him the N-word.
Yes.
Sorry about that.
Are you rooting for him now? You should root for him just because you feel bad.
No, Izzy watches Kill Tony every Monday.
Yeah, he's the man.
Does.
Loves it.
He
Posts
loves it,
about it and
yes.
everything.
Like, if Izzy told me that he watches all of my videos, I would be rooting for him to win all of his fights too. At the end of the round though, Brendan says he wants to see DDP blitz in more so that he can get knocked out, which seems oddly aggressive and in poor taste.
Motherfucker. See, that blitz is what's going to get him fucked up.
That's going to get him knocked the fuck out.
Yeah, that's what we want.
The second round is when I really started to feel that the room didn't want to see DDP win. This was probably Dricus's best round out of the first three, and the JRE crew are just constantly trying to coach Izzy through their TV monitor to defend takedowns and escape from bottom position. Brendan encourages Izzy to grab the fence, which is weird.
Oh, he's
Above his
grabbing the
leg.
fence. He's grabbing the fence. Oh, don't grab the fence.
Why not?
Because it's a point.
I don't even see the
No,
ref.
they give warnings, dog.
They should take a point.
I agree, but they don't.
They keep saying that DDP is exhausted, which Joe and Brendan should know at this point that this is just the way that DDP fights. The round ends and you can kind of feel the entire room feel discouraged that Izzy lost that round. Third round starts and right off the bat, Brian and Brendan both say that they want to see DDP get fucked up during a blitz, which again, I don't understand where the animosity from Brendan is coming from.
He has to be careful because DDP will start blitzing his ass.
I want him to blitz. That's what's going to get him fucked
Me
up.
too.
Throughout this round, you start to feel the guys get excited at Izzy winning the exchanges, and you can definitely tell that they're happy with Izzy starting to pull ahead. Like, these guys are glaze maxing Izzy throughout this entire round. They keep harping on how exhausted Dricus is, but I feel like Joe has commentated enough of his fights to know that this guy DDP never stops moving forward, but it is what it is. Joe and Izzy are friends, so I understand why he wants to see him win. In between rounds, Brian Simpson makes fun of Dricus Du Plessis by speaking in a fake French accent, even though he's South African, and you can even hear him say that he has a stupid name, which feels pretty juvenile coming from a grown-ass man.
Rips to the body.
No, he's over there. I
Front
just
kick.
know what you see.
Those are
What is it?
investments.
How's he say it?
I just know what to do.
What is that? Is that
that
your
him?
South
That's
African
yeah, that's him in
accent?
this corner. Oh, he's not French?
Fucked up. We're like, what the fuck you saying?
I'm like, you're the casual of casuals, Brian.
I am.
This the whole deal with this fight is a battle for Africa. He's from South Africa.
I know, that's why I
He's
made the
from
Trevor Noah
Nigeria.
joke. But
Oh, you fucked
his
up.
stupid name.
In the fourth and final round, the guys were riding high off of Izzy having a good third round, and you can tell that they all thought that Izzy was clearly winning the fight and was on his way to getting the win. Whenever Izzy landed a shot, they were getting all excited, but obviously whenever DDP landed, they either pretended like it didn't happen or commented on it with disdain. And at 3:40 on the clock, Brian Simpson says hitting you with that apartheid, which is a ridiculous thing to say about a guy who was born 4 years after apartheid ended.
Look at that uppercut.
Hitting
Oh
you-
my goodness.
Hitting you with that apartheid.
Brian just comes off as super ignorant throughout this entire fight companion, and as someone who's clearly a casual fan who doesn't even know basic details about DDP's fight history, he sure seems to have a lot of strong negative opinions about the guy for whatever reason. At about 3:10 on the clock, Joe starts acting like Izzy winning this fight is already a foregone conclusion and says that Izzy and Sean are going to fight again.
I want Izzy to win so bad so he can fight Strickland.
Me too.
They're gonna fight again, man. I guarantee you they're gonna fight again.
Oh yeah.
They're gonna fight again.
He need that one back.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I just don't think he realized how good Strickland was. That's my feeling.
The few things. I think he didn't realize how good he was, overlooked him. There was also drinking, and then also all the fights, title fights. People
Lot of
realize,
fights.
But as you can probably imagine, during the finishing sequence, the vibe of the room took a hilarious turn for the worse, with all of the guys getting noticeably scared that Izzy was about to get submitted.
yeah, the
Get
week-
out of there. Get out of there.
Dude. Oh my God.
That's incredible.
Oh my God. Oh my
fuck is-
God.
what the fuck
oh
is
my
going
God.
on?
What just happened?
He heard him.
Especially when you compare the reactions versus like 60 seconds ago where Tony Hinchcliffe and Schaub were saying how Dricus had barely even touched Adesanya, it makes their response to Izzy getting finished even funnier.
that uppercuts there
Dude, he's
extended.
barely touched Adesanya tonight.
Yeah, barely.
It's wild.
The exact moment that Izzy taps out is amazing because you see all four guys react like their hearts have been broken at the exact same time.
Oh shit, he might have this.
Oh no.
He has it. He
Oh,
has
no.
Oh
it.
no.
Yeah.
No way.
Oh my God.
And after some coping from Joe about how Izzy got sloppy and let DDP get back into the fight, Brian Simpson then says the dumbest thing I've ever heard by saying that this feels like America just lost a war or something.
Fuck. He got hit with those big right hands, man. He got rocked with those right
God,
hands.
this makes me feel like America lost a war or something.
Wow.
Like I just fucking hate how this feels. Fuck.
Like, dude, this is such an outrageous thing to say. Izzy is a Nigerian-born New Zealand resident who's made jokes about 9/11 and the Twin Towers.
I'll touch him enough times. And eventually he'll crumble like the Twin Towers.
The fact that Brian says that this is like the USA losing a war is pretty wild, and it really shows his irrational hatred towards Dricus. And before I go any further, I just want to say that this guy, Brian Simpson, comes off incredibly ignorant, and almost everything he said throughout this fight companion was unbelievably stupid. Like, there's obviously nothing wrong with wanting one fighter to win over another, especially if you're a casual fan of the sport. That's exactly how the UFC makes you fall in love with the product. But there's a huge difference between wanting Izzy to win and being largely hateful towards DDP. Brendan then says in a very depressed voice that he's afraid to open his Instagram comments because he made a post guaranteeing that Izzy was going to beat DDP.
Tell you what, my Instagram comments on that Izzy post aren't going to be fun.
Well, don't read him.
Oh, of course
Did you
not.
bet?
No, I guaranteed Izzy would win though.
I really thought he was going to as well.
So I guess that explains why he wanted to see DDP lose so badly, but still, I feel like hoping to see the guy get knocked out as badly as he did still feels a little bit weird to me. Brendan then says he can't even find it in himself to feel happy for Dricus, which is bizarre and feels really petty.
That's a crazy victory. You gotta give it up to that
It's
dude.
hard for me to give it up to him. I don't know why.
Oh, you're crazy.
I know it needs.
Brian Simpson then says that he hates DDP's face and the way that he talks, which again, this guy is just such a doofus throughout this entire segment.
Savage.
I hate him.
As much as I
hate
love
his face.
Izzy.
I hate how he talks.
Let's hear him talk.
Rogan also mentions that Izzy was, quote, winning the fight and, quote, dominating up until the finish, which I kind of have to disagree with. I thought this fight was a pretty close one overall, but I personally had it 2-1 in favor of Dricus heading into the fourth and final round. Don't get me wrong, Izzy looked really good himself on Saturday, but I definitely think that saying that he was dominating is a bit of a stretch and a classic Joe Rogan hyperbole. Of course, as we know from his commentating during Adesanya versus Blachowicz, Joe does have a tendency to paint Izzy's performances as greater than they actually are. Alright, so that's basically all the things that I wanted to touch upon from this fight companion, and if you're wondering what my thoughts are on this, then just know that I find all of this more funny than anything else. Like the fact that all four of these guys were so gung-ho about Izzy beating DDP, and to watch their reaction to Izzy getting submitted is just good content at the end of the day. There's nothing wrong with wanting to see one fighter win over another because that's what drives the sport, but I will say that at times the vibe in the room felt oddly hostile towards Dricus, especially when it comes to Brendan and Brian. I've already made my feelings towards Brian very clear. I think the guy's kind of a weirdo, and I feel like some of his comments felt a little bit racist. But when it comes to Brendan, I'm a bit surprised at how obvious he made it that he not only wanted to see Izzy beat Dricus, but it seems like he wanted Izzy to humiliate him too. He repeated multiple times that he wanted DDP to get knocked out or get fucked up, and saying that he couldn't even bring himself to feel happy for Dricus winning is some petty ass behavior out of Brendan. Like, I don't know if Brendan and Dricus had some prior beef heading into this fight, but if all of this weird hostility from Brendan is rooted in him posting a video guaranteeing Izzy to beat DDP, then that's just lame. And honestly, after watching Brendan act like such a hater towards Dricus in this podcast, I can't help but be happy seeing Dricus call Brendan a never was on Twitter. And when it comes to Joe and Tony Tony, I don't think either guy ever really did or said anything too out of pocket. I mean, they were both glazing Izzy hard as hell, but I can't fault them too hard for rooting for someone they consider to some degree a friend. I mean, Izzy was there for Joe when he got into that controversy for saying the N-word, so I'm sure Joe's been appreciative towards him ever since. And as I mentioned earlier, Izzy is a huge fan of Kill Tony, so of course Tony is going to support him for that. And yeah, at the end of the day, this is all in good fun to me for the most part. I mean, I think this fight companion would have been a million times better if Brian Simpson wasn't a part of it, and I don't agree with how Schaub was acting at times, but this is the beauty of the UFC experience. It gets people emotionally invested in the athletes and the outcomes, and in times like this, we get to watch 4 fully grown men have a collective emotional meltdown when their guy loses. And much like when I'm watching a pay-per-view with the homies, we'll glaze the fighters that we support, we'll talk shit about the fighters that we're rooting against, and we'll ride the emotional roller coaster that is being a hardcore UFC fan, however which way it takes us. With all this being said though, please never bring back Brian Simpson to the show. The guy is a fucking clown. Anyways, that is the video for today. Definitely let me know your thoughts on the most recent JRE fight companion. Were you more entertained or disgusted by the obvious favoritism from the watch party crew? And what are your thoughts on Brian Simpson throughout this podcast episode? As always, if you like the video, then like the video, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. I appreciate you guys for watching, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.